Okay, so strap yourselves in for this deep dive.
Mm.
We're going right into the heart of a Reddit post, and it's pretty disturbing, honestly.
Yeah.
A 17-year-old girl details a violent encounter with her 30-year-old brother. And I gotta say, the speed at which things escalate is really chilling.
It is striking, how a seemingly minor household disagreement just explodes into a life-threatening situation.
Yeah,
And it highlights the volatile nature of domestic violence and the critical importance of recognizing those early warning signs.
for sure. It all begins with the girl heading upstairs to check on her sick sister.
Okay.
And she leaves the stove on for like just a minute.
Hmm.
Seems harmless enough on the surface, right?
Yeah, I think so, right? But that's when things take a very dark turn.
Yeah.
The brother's reaction is totally over the top,
Totally.
screaming about burning the house down,
Oh, wow.
and then it just spirals.
Yeah.
Verbal abuse, spitting, and then ultimately physical violence.
It's really tough to read her description of being punched, having her hair pulled, and even being strangled.
Yeah.
She writes about genuinely fearing for her life.
Right.
And her words really convey that terror.
This level of violence is incredibly concerning, and that detail about the strangulation, that's a major red flag.
Wow.
Research shows that strangulation during an assault is a strong predictor of future lethal violence.
Oh, jeez.
It's a serious escalation that shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yeah. It's frightening to think that something as simple as a stove being left on could be the trigger for such brutality.
Right.
And as we dig deeper into the family dynamics, things get even more complicated.
They do. The poster mentions her grandmother stepping in, pulling the brother away.
Oh, wow.
But then he grabs a metal pan and threatens her with that.
Oh, my God.
Really paints a picture of the level of aggression and the very real danger she was in.
It's just a horrific situation.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the police were called. She was taken to the hospital,
Okay.
not just for the physical injuries like a sprained finger, but also for a panic attack.
Right.
This isn't just about bumps and bruises. The emotional trauma is significant.
Exactly. And her needing medical attention really speaks volumes about the severity of the attack.
For sure.
Now, this is where the conversation in the Reddit comments takes a fascinating turn.
Okay.
Lots of people, understandably outraged, and they're urging her to press charges.
Yeah.
Especially since she reveals that this wasn't an isolated incident.
Okay.
Her brother, she says, has a history of violence against women.
Oh, wow. That changes things. Knowing that this isn't a first-time occurrence definitely adds another layer of seriousness to the situation.
It does.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, past behavior is often a chillingly accurate predictor of future actions.
Okay.
And the fact that there's a documented history of violence against women really underscores the need for intervention. This isn't just a sibling squabble. There's a pattern of abuse here.
And then there's the added complexity of the poster mentioning her mother's reaction,
Right.
which adds a whole new dimension to the situation.
This is where we see the concept of enabling come into play. Enabling is essentially protecting someone from the consequences of their actions. Okay.
The poster says her mother is advising her not to press charges,
Really?
which ignites a fiery debate in the comments about protecting abusers versus supporting victims.
It's a heartbreaking dilemma, isn't it?
It is.
Many are calling out the mother for seemingly prioritizing her son's well-being over her daughter's safety.
Right.
It's a tough reality of domestic violence situations. That pressure to protect the abuser, often at the expense of the victim. It's like this loyalty tug of war.
It is.
Yeah.
This situation really exemplifies how societal expectations and family loyalty can muddy the waters.
Right.
Those commenters urging her to prioritize her own safety and hold her brother accountable are offering a crucial counter-narrative to the mother's perspective. They're saying, hey, your safety matters, your needs matter, don't be silenced.
It's a stark reminder that sometimes seeking justice means going against the wishes of your family, which can be incredibly difficult.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how the comment section becomes a resource hub for the poster.
Okay.
People are offering practical advice about legal options.
Safety planning, and the importance of documenting every instance of abuse.
Yeah.
Some even suggest contacting Child Protective Services.
It's almost like a real-time support group.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even when facing something as isolating as domestic violence, you're not alone. There are people out there who understand and want to help.
And that support is crucial because, as you mentioned, this situation brings a wave of new challenges for the girl, particularly after sharing her story publicly online.
Right. Talking about this experience so openly brings about a whole new set of complications for her.
This is where we dive into the often unseen consequences of speaking out about such sensitive issues.
And trust me, this is where it gets even more complex.
You mentioned those new challenges the poster faced. After sharing her story,
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, in a follow-up post, she reveals she's been getting harassing messages.
Oh, wow.
It seems some people just don't believe her account of the assault.
That's sadly a common experience for survivors of abuse.
Yeah.
They often face disbelief accusations of lying or exaggerating their experience.
Mhm.
It's a form of victim blaming that can be incredibly damaging.
It's heartbreaking that on top of this traumatic ordeal, she now has to deal with this added layer of scrutiny and harassment.
This situation highlights the need for more empathy and understanding when we talk about domestic violence.
Yeah.
We need to foster a culture where survivors feel safe and supported when they come forward.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that the impact of abuse goes far beyond the initial incident.
Right.
The emotional and psychological scars can be long-lasting.
And here, the online harassment adds another dimension to the trauma.
Yeah.
It's almost like a re-traumatization.
Exactly. And it's not just strangers who are doubting her story.
Oh, no.
Her own mother is now pushing her not to press charges.
That's got to be incredibly difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
Having your own family question your experience can be so isolating and painful.
The poster expresses her frustration and confusion.
Right.
She clearly feels betrayed by her mother's lack of support.
This situation really exemplifies the complex dynamics that can exist within families affected by domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for family members to prioritize maintaining a facade of normalcy, even if it means silencing the victim.
It's like they're choosing to ignore the elephant in the room.
Precisely. And in doing so, they may inadvertently perpetuate the cycle of abuse.
The commenters offer a range of perspectives on the mother's actions.
Okay.
Some express sympathy, suggesting that she might be in denial or struggling to cope with the situation.
Right.
Others are more critical, arguing that her behavior enables the brother's abusive actions and sends a dangerous message to both the victim and the abuser.
Yeah.
There's a sense of helplessness from some commenters.
Okay.
They recognize the difficult position the poster is in, caught between the need for justice
Yeah.
and the desire to maintain family ties.
It's a reminder that there are no easy answers in these situations.
Right.
Domestic violence is a multifaceted issue, and its impact reverberates throughout families and communities.
It's like a ripple effect, touching everyone in its path.
Exactly. And navigating those ripples can be incredibly challenging,
Yeah.
especially for someone so young.
The poster ultimately decides to file a police report, though,
Okay, good.
which speaks to her incredible strength and resilience.
That's a significant step towards seeking justice and holding her brother accountable.
Yeah.
It also sends a powerful message that she refuses to be silenced or intimidated.
It's like she's reclaiming her voice and her power.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And that's incredibly empowering, not just for her, but for other survivors who might be struggling in silence.
Her story resonates with many commenters
Yeah.
who share their own experiences with sibling abuse and the challenges of navigating family dynamics in the aftermath of violence.
This highlights the importance of seeking support from others who understand what you're going through.
Right.
Whether it's through online communities, support groups, or professional counseling, it's crucial to have a safe space to process your emotions and develop coping mechanisms.
It's like finding a lifeline when you feel like you're drowning. Exactly. And those lifelines can come from unexpected places, like the comment section of a Reddit post.
The poster's story is a powerful reminder that domestic violence can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, or family background.
It's a call to action for all of us to challenge societal norms that perpetuate abuse.
Yeah.
And to create a culture of respect, equality, and nonviolence.
This deep dive into the Reddit post has been eye-opening, to say the least.
Right.
It's a stark reminder of the dark realities of domestic violence and the challenges survivors face.
But it also offers a glimmer of hope.
Oh,
The poster's courage in coming forward, the support she receives from commenters, and her decision to file a police report all point towards a possible path to healing and justice.
it's like a light at the end of a very dark tunnel.
Exactly. And that light represents the possibility of change, both for individuals and for society as a whole.
This deep dive into the Reddit post leaves us with much to contemplate.
The poster's experience raises so many questions about family dynamics, the cycle of abuse, and the role of individual and societal responsibility in addressing domestic violence.
These are complex issues that demand our attention and require ongoing dialogue and action.
It's clear that there's much work to be done to prevent violence, support survivors, and hold abusers accountable.
Getting this Reddit post serves as a powerful catalyst for that conversation.
It's a stark reminder that behind the anonymity of the internet, there are real people grappling with real-life challenges.
And their stories deserve to be heard, their experiences validated, and their voices amplified.
Absolutely. Every voice matters, and every story has the power to spark change.
This deep dive has certainly given us a lot to think about. But before we wrap things up, there's one final detail from the Reddit post that I think is particularly important to mention.
I am all ears. What is it?
It's this. Even after receiving so much support and encouragement online, the poster also faced a wave of skepticism and outright disbelief.
Really?
Yeah. Some people accused her of lying for attention or fabricating the story for internet points.
That's unfortunately a common and disheartening reaction.
Yeah.
It speaks to the deep-seated biases that often surround domestic violence.
Right.
Victims are often questioned, their accounts minimized, and their experiences doubted.
Right.
It's like their pain is somehow seen as less valid because it doesn't fit into a neat little box.
And it's especially disheartening to see these accusations leveled at a young person who's already going through so much.
Yeah.
It's as if some people just can't grasp the reality of sibling violence, especially when there's such a significant age gap between them.
Right.
It's like there's this societal blind spot when it comes to acknowledging that abuse can happen within families.
Absolutely. It highlights the importance of believing survivors and creating safe spaces for them to share their stories without fear of judgment or disbelief. We need to remember that domestic violence doesn't discriminate.
Right.
It can happen in any family, regardless of age, gender, or social status.
The poster even felt compelled to share screenshots of messages with her sister as proof that her story was true. It's a sad reflection of the climate of distrust that often surrounds these kinds of accusations.
Yeah.
It's like she has to defend her own pain.
It speaks to the burden of proof that's often unfairly placed on victims.
Right.
They're expected to provide irrefutable evidence to validate their experiences, while the abuser's actions are often met with leniency or even outright denial. It's a double standard that needs to be challenged.
This deep dive into the Reddit post has been a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's been infuriating to see the violence, heartbreaking to witness the family dynamics, and inspiring to see the support offered by some commenters.
Right.
It's like a microcosm of the larger societal conversation surrounding domestic violence.
It is. We see the challenges of reporting abuse, the complexities of family relationships, the pervasive nature of victim blaming, and the power of online communities in offering support and guidance. This case study, while specific in its details, really does reflect some of the broader issues at play.
So what does this all mean? What can we take away from this deep dive?
It reminds us that domestic violence is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences.
Yeah.
It can happen anywhere to anyone.
Right.
And it's crucial to approach these situations with empathy, understanding, and a commitment to supporting survivors.
It's also a powerful reminder that believing survivors is the first step towards breaking the cycle of abuse.
Absolutely.
We need to challenge the societal norms that perpetuate violence, create safe spaces for victims to come forward and hold abusers accountable for their actions.
And perhaps most importantly, it encourages us to reflect on our own roles in preventing violence. Are we creating environments where individuals feel safe and respected?
Yeah.
Are we challenging harmful attitudes and behaviors?
Right.
Are we supporting organizations and initiatives that address domestic violence? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves.
This deep dive leaves us with a lot to think about. It's a call to action for all of us to be more aware, more compassionate, and more proactive in creating a world free from violence.
Yes.
It starts with each of us recognizing the problem and choosing to be part of the solution.
Exactly. Every step we take, no matter how small, can contribute to a larger shift in our collective consciousness. We can all be agents of change in our own way.
Well said. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a heavy but important conversation. And to our listeners, we hope this episode has provided some insights into the complexities of domestic violence and inspired you to take action in your own communities. Remember, every voice matters, every story has power, and together we can make a difference.